Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, meathead. We now know for positive, it's better to ask the question when you ask it. I don't believe that myself. I told you, questions used to be answered the last day. But we now can prove statistically that the closer the answer is to the question, the more it resonates with you. And so even though that's not my style of teaching, I now acquiesce that it works better. It works better. And so we continue to answer the questions as they come up. We continue to ask. Yeah, and of course Andreas. Now I'm gonna email Andreas. The Nazis loved you, Andreas. I'm glad you took your patch off your arm, though. Your swastika. I'm glad you took your swastika off your arm. And when I talk that way with the German, I mean, you can't talk like that in Germany. You can't say shit. But I mean, after we're all pretty well lubed up, 8 rounds of drinks. And I'm used to drink, but some of these guys, I mean, the fucking stuff that they were talking about and about Merkel and oh fuck, you think it was 1931 that Hitler was just taking over the goddamn country? It was quite interesting. There's a lot of pent up emotion that only comes out after you've been drinking. Tonight, it's Pavilion. By the way, any headaches today from boxing?
No.
Any headaches last night from boxing? Yeah. That was interesting. I haven't looked at YouTube. What are the YouTube comments about the boxing? Oh, they're not. Oh, okay. Well, the shit will hit. You know, everybody is all of a sudden everybody's a world champion all of a sudden when they watch you guys. You know, a few months ago, I said, let's find some of these guys. I'll pay for these assholes to come here, and we'll see how fucking good they are when they get in there. But I didn't do that. But so we had no injuries, no broken bones that we know of. No. Okay. Well.
You got someone red-eyed there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you mean the Chinese love affair? Yeah. Okay. Well, I love when Chinese turn on Chinese. I mean, it's a thing of beauty, you know. Any other questions? Well, I knew it's always the black guy that asks the questions. Okay, go ahead.
So you mentioned that a guarantor is a fool with a pen, right? And for the first one, we may have to give a personal guarantee.
Did you relate to that? The fool with a pen? Did you relate to that?
No, sir. So how can we de-risk that situation?
Oh, no, well, I mean, with the SBA, you're going to have to sign. For those in the United States, that's just it. The SBA, government guaranteed loan, it's mandatory that there's a guarantor. Doesn't have to be you, but I'm not telling you, don't have it your parents or some shit like that. We've had guys that have had their now, so they're 19 years old, so they can't, 18, they can't, an 18-year-old signature is worth nothing, okay? And so we've had, although Josh's parents didn't sign, but normally, and unless you can find, and it's available, non-recourse, non-guaranteed money, you're going to have to sign. But your starting position is, did the deal stand up before I brought it to you last week? It's been in operation 11 years. Is it going to stand up tomorrow without me? Yes. Well, what good does my guarantee? Let's figure out a way to get this done without my personal guarantee. But if you don't ask them that, kids, believe me, they will not bring it up. And that's essentially what Jason Nagy's done. Of course, now he's done a bunch of deals with no guarantee, so there's no way he's going to sign anything now. He just points to his other deals. But, and Jason had money. He has a successful IT company. In addition to the radiology practices that he's rolled up, he has doubled, almost tripled his IT business. So he's doing 2 roll-ups simultaneously, which I don't recommend. He already had a reasonably successful IT business, and so he's doing a fabulous job. But now he's known as Mr. Non-Guarantee. So, I mean...
Did he have to guarantee his first one?
No, he didn't guarantee his first one even. No. He didn't guarantee his first one. But see, it's people, it's part of the myth. The other part of the myth is money's hard to find, and it's not true. The real thing that's hard to find is motivated sellers. That's not a myth. That's for real. But they're there. But you just got to peel back a lot of onions. You got to lift a lot of rocks. It's like frog cufflinks and frog tie. Because even I want to continue to remind myself that I have to kiss frogs and turn over rocks to find deals. And but they're certainly available. And now they're even more available because even the sellers realize that their deals can get financed by you because of the money, the free flow of money that's around the world. It's quite remarkable. And for those of you, maybe only one or two of you who remember the 80s, I thought the 80s would never happen again. I was there one time, but it makes the 80s look like it was hard then, and it wasn't hard at all.
With the businesses that we look at, is there a certain age they should be?
Well, the age of the seller should be 55 to 70, and the businesses, I like them to be 15 to 25 years old. I mean, not old, but them having owned the business 15 to 25 years. If you just started the business 3 years ago, you're too hot and bothered. I mean, you don't see the realities. But if you've been in business 15 years, same business, you founded it, then you realize, you see all the shadows and the sharks swimming around it. And I'm going to show a slide tomorrow that shows, now this is U.S. centric, but shows how many businesses that I just described to you are available in the United States. And if I remember correctly, there's 11 million businesses in the U.S. that fall into the parameters I just told. 11 million across the board, healthcare, everything, that are owned by people 55 to 70. 11 million. It's no wonder you guys never bump into each other in America. But they don't bump it. Nobody bumps into anybody in Germany, here. Just because there's that few of you, and there's that many businesses.
There'll be certain industries that. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm asking too many questions. There'll be certain industries that have more than, more of these demographics.
Healthcare. The kids don't want to take over their parents' healthcare businesses. What's glamorous about taking up a fucking bedpan business? Nothing too glamorous about it, is there? And the kids don't want it. The kids don't want to dirty their hands. Literally, though, in bedpan. They don't. And that's better for us. So they don't, that's fine. God bless them. But there's no shortage of them, God almighty. It's terrific. It's terrific. And it's virtually the same in almost every place. In some places, like I told you, like South Africa, it's even better because there's so much fucking chaos. Of course, there's also downside, some downside. But the state banks that Anelli alluded to, they only have non-recourse money. Now, when you go back and you tell your dad and your uncle, they probably never heard of what I'm teaching you here, right?
I'm not going to tell them. We've had a lot of conflicts about this entire system.
Okay, well anyway, most people don't know that there's Mandela, when he left, he set up a secondary and a tertiary banking system because he knew that the black management were going to have trouble taking over the country because they have a lack of experience. But it's not the blacks that are using the money. It's the whites that are using the money. Okay, which, that's not our fault. But he was right. Mandela, the old geezer, was right. He knew more than the other guys in South Africa that the country was going to have trouble running itself. He knew that But he didn't get elected telling you, all my black brothers are going to fuck it up. He didn't run doing that. But I mean, he knew, and so he set up a secondary and a tertiary banking system, which is, I mean, terrific. And but it's mostly being utilized by the white population of South Africa, which that's not our fault. Yes, sir.
So can you just delve in a little bit deeper into non-recourse? Does that mean there was no personal guarantee?
That means there's no guarantee. And no, okay. Where are you from?
UK or back home?
Back home.
Nigeria.
Okay. Nigeria is a third world country. Perfect. Okay. In fact, it's not even a third world country. It's probably a fourth or fifth world country. There is government money that's been allocated. Now, some of the government money has been stolen already, but there's government money, allocated in Nigeria for troubled areas. Now, arguably, all of Nigeria is troubled, okay? Meaning that black man in Nigeria to go into business, there's a high probability that, first of all, 95%, up to 50% businesses fail the first year anyway. And the percentages are even higher in third, fourth, fifth world countries. So they've set up money, and I don't know what the amount of money, through the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Let's say it's $1 billion. I don't know what the number is, but it's $1 billion to fund businesses in Nigeria, and mostly black Nigerian business people that are borrowing the money, and there's a high probability they can't run them. So they're not going to hold the Nigerian people accountable. So it's non-recourse. They don't want you to fail, but they know there's a high fucking probability to fail. And so then what are they going to chase all the poor Nigerians around for the money? No. So they just say non-recourse, non-guaranteed.
So if you fail to pay back,
yeah. It's not that you take the money and run.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to
No, like some of my former colleagues did, but they know that you're going to have trouble potentially, so they don't make you guarantee it, and they make the project as the only collateral on the transaction. Detroit, 15, 20 years ago, same prospect. Detroit when they were rioting there, okay? Chicago when they were rioting. Harlem, New York back in the day, okay? Spanish Harlem back in the day when they were rioting. You could borrow money and know that they weren't going to take the whole ethnic culture down because they didn't pay the money back. But that's essentially what non-recourse. But the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have been doing it since World War II. Since World War II. Yes, sir.
Is there any of that in the U.S.?
Yes. Correct.
When you see those riots going on, that looks like money when you see something.
Correct. Absolutely. You know, I have two feelings. One, I can get a little trigger time. Two, I know it's money. Yes, but there are areas there's still areas in Detroit that are considered third world. There's still areas in New York, parts of New York that are considered, parts of Atlanta, parts of rural Alabama, Arkansas, North Carolina, South Carolina. Now, when a Katrina and all those storms came through, the money that they loaned is non-recourse. It's non-recourse. It's government guaranteed money. And by the way, now in Los Angeles, there's no non-recourse money. In San Francisco, there should be non-recourse money, but there's not. Okay. In Dallas, Texas, there's no non-recourse money. Now, but I mean, in San Antonio, down there on the border, there's non-recourse money available because the drug guys are going back and forth and killing people, shooting the place up. In Florida, I'm not aware if there are any non-recourse money, except for when a hurricane or something goes through and blows all the shit down. Then you can get non-recourse money. Yes, sir.
Do you talk to IMF directly or talk to the local government?
No, you got to make 80 calls to the International Monetary Fund headquarters.
I call them once and they say, oh.
Well, you call them once.
No, I mean,
yeah. 80 calls, Or I have kids that go to the International Monetary Fund and sit. I want to talk to somebody, about health care. There's non-recourse money in Haiti. I mean, well, I won't say there's no infrastructure there, but there's almost no infrastructure.
Brazil.
Pardon?
Brazil.
Brazil, yes. I have my Portuguese-speaking veterinary doctor rolling up medical doctors' practices in Brazil. But if you don't ask, you don't get. Now, I don't think there's any in the Netherlands. There should be, but there isn't. I don't know if there's any in Germany either. But the more prosperous country, it's less likely to be there. It's less likely to be there. Now, if we understood what was really going on in China, which we don't, I'm sure the Chinese government's got non-recourse money. I'm positive. But they're not telling us. I'm positive. You know, they've got cities in China where they build condominiums for 1 million people. 40 people live in them. 40 managers. They're all empty. You don't read about it on CNN or hear it on CNN.
Those ghost cities.
What? Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they are. Ghost cities. And now they say, I don't believe this, there's 1 million cities of 1 million people in China. I don't believe that. But it's possible. Built for 1 million, not with 1 million people. Because 1 million is 1 trillion. So there's not 1 trillion people there yet. But I mean, I'm sure there are cities that have been built up for the last 30, 40 years where they thought there'd be people moving into. There was an expose 5 or 8 years ago where the only person in a building of 8,000 apartments was the manager of the building.
I think they build for future growth too.
Yeah, well, I mean, the future growth it doesn't seem to be catching up. Okay, any other questions? Who's my 5:30? 6. 6:30. Okay, well, ask him. Yeah, okay. Okay, guys.